From service to strength, from questions to choice, guidance you trust, her vet voice.
Yes, it is time for the cookout. Welcome to our HVV family. How are you? Where we help veterans become informed, empowered, and prepare them for all things VA. So everything that Dougie is doing behind the scenes, we cook it up and we bring it to the cookout. So I hope you have cups, plates, ice, whatever you are going to bring to the cookout tonight because we are going to be serving. So if you're new here, consider subscribing, liking, sharing because we get into it. So tonight, let's get into the topic. We are going to be talking about discharges and the effect that it has on your life in as you come out of the military. You serve your country, but one piece of paper can make the determination of whether you receive health care, disability benefits, compensation, even education benefits, or you get Nathaniel, nothing at all. So tonight we are going to be discussing why some veterans call discharge their discharge characterizations is called the administrative death sentence. Yes, I said it, the administrative death sentence. So, what that phrase means, we're going to talk about, we're going to listen to a hearing that happened behind the scenes that nobody's really paying attention to. And we're going to talk about how commanders and how they have an effect on the future of a veteran and what they do to screw the veteran over. We're going to talk about a little bit of data. We're going to talk, there's some things that are going to come to the carpet, which is going to drop your mouth a little bit. But this hearing is something that happened behind the scenes 2 days ago. So while we were over there listening to what's going on with Tikava, on the backside, they were cooking up something else. But anyway, there's always a second chance if you have a discharge character other than honorable, and we can get into that a little bit as well. But let's see who's here so we can get into it. Of course, I've already given my broke best friend some dinner, so I don't have to run tonight. I have time for a cookout, and that's exactly what we're going to happen, what we're having tonight. So welcome, everybody. All right, let's see who's here. Thank you for your support and assistance, Hops Town's Finest, as usual. Thank you for joining, Annette. Hello. Here's I am inviting everybody to cook out. Let me know what y'all bringing. Okay, somebody got to bring ice, and we need the red cups. So Rita got the cheddar jalapeno sausage. Ray is here as usual. He's coming to support, and Ray is going to keep us all in check and get it on. So Charlton, guess what? We about to talk about that. Okay, E. Thomas, you here live and in color. I see you, Benny. What's happening? How are you, Benny? Good to see you. All right, I lost track here. What up, Skins? How are you? This is what happened to you. Oh, okay. I'm Bluebird. What's good? How you feeling on that 100% PNT? I know you're still taking it in. Minimoto. Oh, good to see you. South Carolina is definitely in the house. Indeed. What's happening? How you doing? And of course, E. Thomas is smiling because he's at the cookout and we are about to have and the original G Watt just hopped into the cookout. What y'all doing on Friday night? Let's cook up, y'all. So last night I couldn't do it live because the internet went out because Spectrum was playing with my top. But anyway, I couldn't go live, so I was really, really devastated. I just decided to go to bed because my internet at first they had said that it was going to be restored at 8:45, and then I got another text message. It's not going to be restored till like 10:30. Now, if you have teenagers and you don't have internet, you know how life is going to be. So I just decided to go to bed, but my teenager was able to maneuver on her phone with creating a hotspot so she can play Roblox. So I'm okay, but no internet, it's not successful in the house with a teenager. But anyway, I digress. Hey, Betty, it's always good to see you. Hope you had a lovely Friday as well. Betty saying hi to everyone. And you are in North Florida. You are in the building. So we got South Carolina. We got Florida. Where are the rest of y'all from? Put where you from in the chat. You don't have to put the city. You can just put the state. We ain't gonna come looking for you. But if you come looking for me, I got something for you if you come in my direction. But where y'all from? Put in the comments. So see where we at in the country at the cookout, because we can have a cookout virtually and we live in different states. See, California. So somebody way on the other side of us at the cookout in California. Somebody in Chicago. That's what I'm saying. The cookout is nationwide. Okay. We have health warning. Oh, yes, in Spokane, Washington. So I pray for all the people who have respiratory stuff, because I see in Detroit and in Washington now it's really bad. So Brina is in Ohio. So she is in Ohio. You are in the Pacific Northwest. Um, You in California, see the cookout everywhere. Evening shipments. Okay, smoke getting Maryland is in there. Okay. We have smoke warnings here in Chicago. Oh wow. I seen a lot of people wearing masks on TikTok earlier. And now, oh, Shreveport, Louisiana. That's where I want to come to the cookout at. You hear me? I need some red beans and rice so bad, but I'm trying to eat healthy, y'all. Help me. Help me. Anyway, so I wanted to come on here and bring something to light. So while they was over there tussling about that tea kava that didn't make it, okay, some stuff was happening behind the scenes. So let's see. Oh, you asking him where? This is the man you spoke to from Louisiana. Oh, okay. Got you. Okay. Understood now. Okay, so right on time. And I had this live plan with no idea that, this was going to be it. But anyway, so they had this committee hearing 2 days ago. Oregon. Okay. Oregon's in the house. Anybody in New York? Anybody in Brooklyn? Anybody in Missouri? Anybody in Tennessee? Anybody in Texas? Anybody in Virginia? Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Anyway, let's get into it because we're gonna cut up tonight. Anyway, y'all gonna be upset when y'all hear this. But anyway, because I was fuming yesterday. So, oh yeah, Mr. Ray, I need to come down there so I can get me some red beans and rice and some gumbo. Okay, and go down to the bayou with Mama OT and them. Oh my goodness. So I see the smoke. Oh my goodness, it is bad. Anyway, let's get into it, y'all. We'll see who else joined the cookout when the time is right. So, let me make my screen big so y'all can see. Oh, this is not even the right one. This is the right one right here. So let me go down here so y'all could see. And let's get this party going because see what it's called? Bad paper and bureaucracy, how character of discharge affects vulnerable veterans. Anyway, let's go.
Discharges. I'm grateful to be in a room really full of
Let me know if y'all can hear.
such consummate professionals and dedicated advocates. The amount of knowledge and experience here in this room is truly astounding.
That's Richard.
That proverbial anecdote about
We can go
Thomas
to the
Jefferson
cookout, the steakhouse.
dining alone. It's equivalent to all the folks here. I'm grateful that you're all here. Now, I look forward to a in-depth discussion today, and I'm eager to see what progress has been made on the issue of bad paper upgrades, discharge upgrades, since our last conversation in 2024. I'll also say that
Guys,
I'm not naive. I know that we are here to hear some pretty frustrating information today as well. But the discussion on what work remains to be done is just as important as what has already been done. So we already know that the transition from military service into civilian life is not easy. It's never easy. We on this committee are constantly looking for ways to improve the transition process. And we never seem to run out of material for those conversations about how to do that. And that's only speaking about those who have the typical transitions and
Yes.
don't have the burden of bad paper to overcome. So, for those who transfer out of the military in a status other than honorable, the challenges of that transition obviously are exacerbated. Access to education, housing, and
Mr. Ray.
healthcare benefits and disability compensation,
Oh,
which are already challenging to obtain, can seem like an impossible mission for those with bad paper. So this uphill battle is only made much harder when we think about the large disparities and inequitable application among those who have been given these types of discharges. We often see service members who were discharged due to behaviors that may very well be the result of traumatic events experienced in service.
time. We just
And
started.
some of us know a friend, a spouse, a sibling, or even a colleague who was diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury during their service. In many cases, that diagnosis was accompanied by a personality shift, behavioral issues, or substance use disorder. We know all this can be the side effects of traumatic brain injury, and yet
Mm,
we routinely see commanders issue bad paper discharges to move a troubled service member out of the military instead of providing that those service members with the time and treatment they need to get better. Well, this in turn makes it harder for the veteran to receive the care and benefits from VA as well, and starts them down the path of some elevated rates of homelessness, substance use disorder, incarceration, and sadly, death by suicide. So, I ask us all to consider the glaring disparities in race, gender, and rank, and even the enormous variation from one service branch to another, not to mention those who were or will be soon discharged because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Put all that together, and you've got a recipe for a system that deepens already entrenched inequalities and puts veterans at risk instead of helping them.
correct.
Now, I'm not saying that every person who gets a less than honorable discharge is a victim.
Correct.
Uh, the military is a microcosm of our entire nation, and people make mistakes and poor choices. But for those who have extenuating circumstances, uh, for instance, TBI or MST, chronic pain, we need to make sure that we are honoring their service and aiding them when they struggle. Not pushing them aside for the sake of quote unquote unit cohesion or quote unquote operational readiness. I understand the conservative lean to keep benefits away from those who rightly don't deserve them, but at what cost? How many deserving veterans are denied access because of administrative laziness or even worse, outright bias? To pose the question another way, if the military cannot be bothered to formally prosecute a service member through a court martial and take the time to thoroughly document circumstances sufficiently to warrant a dishonorable discharge, or if the offenses are minor enough that a command can take these half steps, then why would we deny someone the care and benefits owed to them as a result of their service?
Yes.
My answer would be we shouldn't. We must flip this presumption on its head. And unless and until someone is court martialed or discharged dishonorably, then we should grant them access to help, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Congress attempted to address this issue through legislation and oversight, but for years, VA has gone far beyond what Congress intended and denied access to far too many with bad paper during its quote unquote character of discharge review process. So further legislative clarification is certainly needed. I look forward to hearing from you all about what this should entail. Now, we in Congress must work to ensure equity. We must work toward a Department of Defense that applies discharges fairly, consistently, and without bias. And we must work for a VA that provides benefits to all deserving veterans. And because throwing veterans out of the service unceremoniously to manage mental illness, injury, or trauma without any safety net, without support to navigate integration to civil society, without the structure that they once had in the service, is a disservice to them and, frankly, to our nation. So I now would like, I don't want to surprise him, but Dr. Herb Conaway has joined us. I don't know, Dr. Conaway, if you have
Thank you, Mr.
any thoughts or comments you'd like to offer at this point, or? Okay, thank you. Uh, Now, to open our discussion today, I'd like to turn to representatives from the Congressional Research Service who will give us the lay of the land with respect to discharge characterization and access to care and benefits. We don't often have CRS joining us, but they have done excellent work on this topic. So I'm honored that they'll be joining us in an apolitical and educational role to get us started.
Hey.
And I just want to remind folks in this particular room with these particular microphones, you have to put the microphone right up to your lips like I'm doing now. And probably I was speaking aside here, that even affected the way that the microphone was picking me up. But you got to really speak into the microphone, pull it up close to you, especially those of you with softer voices. I think we are recording. Are we recording this? Yeah, we are recording this. It's going to be either live streamed or I think it is being live streamed actually. So just know it would help technically for us to really speak into the microphone. So without further ado, Madeline, Jared, Daniel, the floor is yours.
Y'all listen carefully.
Ranking Member Takano, thank you for inviting us to set the stage for this roundtable and for providing copies of our Congressional Research Service report on military discharges and character of service. My name is Madeline Moreno, and my colleague Jared Sussman and I are analysts who cover veterans benefits. Our colleague Dan is an attorney who covers veterans law. A service member's character of discharge is important because it affects his or her eligibility for VA benefits, including disability compensation, pensions, and VA health care. Today, we will briefly touch on 4 topics: Armed Forces Character of Service determinations, VA's Character of Discharge review process, VA healthcare eligibility,
Yes.
and the appeals process.
Yes.
I will begin with Armed Forces Character of Discharge determinations. A member of the Armed Forces is typically provided a DD Form 214 upon release from active duty service. This form contains the service member's character of service, a separation code, and a narrative reason for the separation from service. Military department officials determine the character of service based on several factors, including length of service, performance, conduct, medical conditions, and any special circumstances surrounding the separation from service. Generally speaking, the Armed Forces define 5 military discharge statuses, which are categorized as administrative or punitive. Honorable, general, and other than honorable discharges are considered administrative, while bad conduct and dishonorable discharges are punitive discharges, which result from a general or special court-martial. As mentioned, a former service member's character of service may affect the VA benefits that they are entitled to. Therefore, a former service member may wish to appeal the character of service they have been assigned. Congress has established correction boards to hear disputes related to the character of service assigned to a separating service member. Each military department has 2 boards, a Discharge Review Board, or DRB, and a Board for Correction of Military Records, or BCMR.
That takes years.
A DRB has more limited jurisdiction. It can change an individual's reason for separation or character of service determination after reviewing evidence submitted by an applicant. A BCMR has authority to correct an error or remove an injustice from an individual's service record. Decisions of these bodies may be appealed to the Discharge Appeals Review Board and then ultimately appealed to a federal court. Moving on to VA determinations. VA cannot upgrade a former service member's character of discharge status from the armed forces, but former service members with other than honorable and bad conduct discharges may still be able to receive benefits from VA through a VA character of discharge review. Generally, to be eligible for VA benefits, a former service member must have been discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable. Some VA benefit programs impose stricter requirements, such as that an applicant must be discharged with an honorable discharge. If an individual's discharge status does not satisfy the eligibility requirement for the benefit the applicant seeks, VA first looks for additional service records to determine if the individual could qualify under another eligible period of service. If there are no qualifying periods of service, VA then reviews the circumstances of the applicant's discharge to see if the individual's conduct during service violated any statutory or regulatory bars to benefits. These bars include violations such as mutiny or spying, desertion, and willful and persistent misconduct. After review, VA may determine that an applicant meets one of three categories:
Yes.
honorable for VA purposes, healthcare eligible, or dishonorable for VA benefits. My colleague Jared will now discuss VA healthcare eligibility.
Come on, Jared, get with it.
Thank you, Madeline. Thank you, Ranking Member Takano, for inviting us. As Madeline noted, I will briefly discuss VA healthcare. Access to healthcare is dependent on character of service, among other qualifying criteria. And Congress has created several exceptions regarding discharge status and eligibility for healthcare that relate primarily to mental health and related conditions. As Ranking Member Takano noted, there's a connection between PTSD, TBI, military sexual trauma, and other than honorable discharges. There's also a connection between lack of access to VA healthcare and an increased rate of suicide. I'm going to spend the next minute or two summarizing those various exceptions. So first, under two presumptions of eligibility for psychosis and mental illness other than psychosis, certain former service members, including those with other than honorable discharges, may qualify for free care for those conditions specifically. The conditions must manifest within 2 years of discharge, among other qualifying criteria.
Yeah. Yes.
Second, the Veterans Health Care Act of 1992 first authorized VA to provide treatment to women for sexual trauma. This provision has been amended multiple times, and today VA is required to provide MST-related treatment and counseling to former service members with other than honorable discharges, among other qualifying criteria, who have a condition resulting from sexual trauma which occurred while on duty. For this treatment, documented service connection is not required, and all VA healthcare services for physical and mental health conditions related to MST are provided with no out-of-pocket costs. Third, the fiscal 2018 VA Appropriations Act, MILCON VA Appropriations Act, authorized VA to provide an initial mental health care assessment and subsequent mental health care for individuals with other than honorable discharges who meet certain other criteria and are not enrolled in VA healthcare. And last, the Compact Act of 2020 authorized VA to provide emergent suicide care to those same individuals to include up to 30 days of inpatient or critical residential care or 90 days of outpatient care. These services can be provided at VA or non-VA facilities, and VA is not authorized to charge individuals for that care. Next, I'll pass it off to my colleague, Dan, who will conclude with the discussion of VA appeals.
Thank you, Jared.
Listen to this, guys.
Now, a VA claimant may disagree with a character of discharge determination made by VA. For example, if VA finds that a regulatory bar such as willful and persistent misconduct prevents eligibility for the benefits sought, a claimant may seek review, arguing that the conduct is not actually disqualifying. Under the Appeals Modernization Act, enacted in 2017, a VA claimant has multiple avenues for appealing an initial decision within the department. First, the claimant may seek higher level review of that decision, to have that decision reviewed by an experienced adjudicator within VA that did not participate in the initial decision.
You hear that?
Second, the claimant may file a supplemental claim by providing new and relevant evidence to VA. Here, the VA will consider the newly submitted evidence and the record evidence to reach a new determination. So, for example, if a claimant's discharge status is later upgraded by a discharge review board, the claimant could submit this evidence to VA in a supplemental claim.
Yes.
Lastly, the claimant may appeal the initial determination to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. This body is the last level of appeal available within the department, and any decision issued by the board is considered final for the VA. Nonetheless, following an unfavorable decision by the BVA, a claimant may appeal to the courts. This process begins with an appeal to the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, and subsequent appeals can be made to the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and if it agrees to hear the case, the Supreme Court for a final decision on the issues presented. Now, we would like to thank Ranking Member Takano for the opportunity to set the table for your discussion today. Again, the committee has made copies of our report available, and we invite you to review that for a more complete discussion of the processes we've touched on here today. We look forward to listening in on the roundtable and to continuing supporting Congress and their staff as they work through important issues related to our nation's veterans. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Daniel, Madeline, and Jared, for that report and all the work that you're doing. I understand that you'll be listening from afar and to keep CRS above the fray of politics. So thank you so much. Thank you. One question.
Yes. To our legal counsel there, Supreme Court involvement is interesting. How quickly, of course, these processes tend to be long, but if it gets to the Supreme Court, do they take these?
Why you can't bring the mic closer?
Review, or is it languish there? Because I mean, they take a long time on elections, and there's a date certain on that. How quickly does a case get resolved that has to go all the way to the Supreme Court, in your experience?
Frankly, the Supreme Court does not even necessarily take veterans cases every term. So the length of time it takes for the court to hear a case and issue a decision can vary widely. Typically, a case heard within one term is decided in that term, but there's no special expedited review by the Supreme Court for veterans issues.
So classified. Hey, Toya.
Thank you again.
Why his mic got to be so far away? They be doing too much.
Jenna McEwen, you already had your card upright. He's already demonstrated, he's modeling what everyone else should do. When they want to speak, they put the card over. I want to acknowledge Dr. Kelly Morrison has joined us as well. Dr. Morrison, thank you for being here today. So put your card up. My staff will take note in terms of which order, and I'll be calling on people for comment and question. I do want to set the stage with the first discussion topic, which is
get it out.
Again, I want to thank CRS. We greatly appreciate the work that they've been doing and helping us here on the Hill stay up informed and up to date. The discussion topic that I want to open up with is an aspect of this topic that I know we have all at least observed, which is the increasing rate of service branches issuing bad paper discharges. The RAND Corporation, I believe, has done some good reporting on this. Ms. Brooks Holiday, maybe you can kick us off and share what you all have seen in your reporting. And I'm particularly curious about the disparities we see in race and between the service branches. So I would like you to start us off with that.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Stephanie Brooks Holiday. I represent RAND. One of the things that RAND has seen in the work that we have done on this topic is that the rate with which people are being discharged with characterizations other than honorable has increased over time. This has been especially noteworthy in veterans of the most recent conflicts. I want to make sure that I get the numbers right, so I'm going to reference some of the work that we have done. So if we look historically at veterans of World War II, it was about 1.7% who were being discharged. 1.7%. If we look at veterans from the Vietnam War era, it's 2.8% of veterans. But when we look at post 9/11 veterans, data, at least from 2016, indicated that 6.5% of veterans were being discharged in a way that they were ineligible for VA benefits.
Do you hear that?
And one thing that I think is really important to highlight about that number is that this is from 2016. So those data are already a decade old, and I think really highlights the lack of data in this area.
So
Pause, because I'm already getting started. So you heard what she said, right? It went from like 1.2, 2.4, and then 6.5. And that data has not been reported since 2014. Okay. Am I right? Am I tracking? Y'all tracking? So between 2014 and 2026, you can only imagine what the data is like. So my question is, now the VA like to get data for everything. How come they didn't get data for this? Where's the data? Where's the data for the bad bad discharges? Where's it at? Where's the data for that? Now you haven't had data since 2014. Now they're saying that commanders, now I don't know, because there's a discussion, there was a little bit of discussion that was happening about this on Facebook, where they were saying that commanders don't care about, if when people start saying that they're getting out, commanders are starting to treat them different, which caused them to act out, which brings them to getting a bad conduct discharge, right? I don't know if y'all was on the committee hearing that the lieutenant that was on there, he apologized because he said he would always put the mission first instead of putting the soldier so they can go out process and take care of life that is about to happen after the military. I don't know if you guys were on when we watched that committee hearing, but he was very apologetic because after he got out, he realized that he was hindering the future of that soldier because he did not allow them to go to what is it called, TDAP or whatever it's called. They weren't allowed to go to any kind of training pertaining to them getting out the military or it's pertaining to their VA disability, because why? They wanted to put the mission first. But he then remembered and he then apologized that and said that if he can go back to every service member that he told to go to the motor pool instead of going to help with their future disability benefits, he apologized. Now here comes the VA. Now you won't see no VA person at this table in this committee hearing because y'all know they not going to come. Dougie not going to send nobody down here to look like a plum fool. He not about to send them to this week. But when you look at what the data this woman is saying, from 1.2 to 2 point something to 6 point something in 2014, y'all tell me in the chat what you think the number is. Hey, Sherry, what you think the number is in 2026? Because I'm going to tell you what, I have tons of people right now in my email that's reaching out to do a character of discharge. I got one person who's, y'all, I ain't even going to tell y'all what they steal. But anyway, it was something very minute, right? But guess what? Everybody is getting out now with a bad character discharge. And then you have to fight with the VA to get benefits. All right, let's see what y'all got going on here. So this is another way to fund tea cover. You hitting the nail on the head. They definitely do not care when you're not realistic. Oh, Miss K, yeah, you remember, hey Sherry, the term dishonorable for the VA purposes, even with an honorable, reflected a dishonorable discharge in my paperwork. I had to correct it yesterday. Yep, it's because misery love comes. Oh, Mr. Ray, you on it, 16.6. Oh, so I'm gonna go back and see what she says, but I want you guys to pay attention to this data.
You're saying that the 6.5% is as of 2016.
Is as of 2016.
We don't know
That's
what's
correct.
been happening in the last 10 years.
We don't know what's happened in the last 10 years.
Okay.
We do know that the data has found, at least in the work that we did that focused on other than honorable discharge specifically, that these discharges are disproportionately affecting veterans who have service-related injuries, as you identified, including post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, disproportionately affecting Black veterans, as well as LGBTQ+ veterans.
Okay. You have a question, Dr. Conaway?
What was the source of that data? So we've got now a 10-year gap. Is this something that the either DOD, what I'm going to call it DOD, do they report that annually?
Pete,
Don't.
Pete,
Or
what?
are you getting that information by request? Where was this data on the status of discharge stored?
This is a very good question. And
Before she answer that question, you don't think Dougie done called Pete and told him not to give them numbers? Y'all really don't think that they in cahoots together? They are in cahoots together. They're in cahoots together. What you didn't hear, Talk? No, I didn't hear it. VA doesn't understand, especially deployed discharges. My deployed discharge back to CONUS overseas off ship was like a half-hour rush to catch the hill on 1981 while on the way. That's crazy. Literally crazy.
actually, I just want to correct one thing that I said. There has been some more recent data from 2020 that suggested that the percentage is declining to 2.8%, but that doesn't tell us the overall percentage among post 9/11 veterans. So I think that that's an important number to look at. Some of this data has been directly from the DoD. Some of it has been reported by other organizations like Swords to Plowshares.
Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at this man's
raw
face.
numbers for those percentages. You know, presume those first two conflicts obviously were there was a draft, and I would assume the numbers were much larger.
This is a great question. I don't have the raw numbers offhand.
Okay. So I think General McEwen, you had your card up first. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. It's about 10,000 a year in current numbers that are receiving it. And during World War II is about 1% is what the numbers that our research did when the Council or Veterans Justice Commission did their research, about 1%. So we have about a 5-fold increase in the number of people getting bad paper discharges. And we know that we don't have a 5-fold increase.
Isn't this the man, Mr. K? Miss K? Isn't this Miss K? Isn't this him? See, he got that daggone thing turned to the side because he don't want us to talk about him on this daggone platform or on social media. That's what they're doing now. But baby, we can read from the side. It's okay, David. We'll find out. But I think this is him. Miss K, do you think this is him? I think this is him.
In bad people serving in, but what we do have is what we found is we have a situation where it's easy, where commanders are using administrative tools to replace soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines because it's easier to move them out administratively using, and they often don't. I will tell you, when I was a commander, I didn't know that I was giving an administrative death sentence to
there you
soldiers
go.
when I was doing it. And I was getting advice from attorneys who thought that they were helping me, and I didn't know, and I regret it, but I didn't know that I was giving an administrative death sentence because I was told it's easy. The process is easy. Get them out. They can always go through this process and have it upgraded later. And that's not a true there is a process, but it's not an easy process. So what the Council on Criminal Justice did is we made a lot of recommendations. 3 are pretty germane to this discussion. 1 is Congress needs to go back to their original 1944 legislative intent, which was only those with dishonorable discharges are not eligible for health care or VA care. That's what they went through a huge discussion in 1944 of who should be eligible. And only those with dishonorable discharge were excluded. But through the rules process and all kinds of shenanigans, my word, not the report's word, through shenanigans, it's been fettered down and other rules were put in place. But that was the 1944 plain language. The second thing that we said should happen is Department of Defense or Department of War needs to modernize and have to have a less punitive approach to performance issues.
Thank you.
Like the
Okay.
civilian world does. Not everybody who does something bad just needs to be punished. They need to be rehabilitated. And they need, so.
Because you trying to tell me if you go into the commissary and you steal some MREs, you steal a pack of MREs, you have bad discharge? Now, if you go ahead and forge the signature of somebody in a higher level position, I totally get that. But if you take a MRE pack from the commissary, you get a bad discharge for that. One MRE that they probably got in a storage unit somewhere. These commanders are off the chain. I want y'all to pay attention. You better tell your friends. I ain't gonna start tonight, y'all.
Everything that goes wrong doesn't just become a punitive discharge. And so that has to be reviewed and looked at. And so when someone has a problem, they have to be rehabilitated. You talked about it, ranking member, that needs to be looked at. And so we said those best practices that happen in the civilian world need to be brought back in and redone in the military and into the military justice system. We recommended joint transition centers. So if the commander has a dilemma, get them off their books. Get them the replacement they need. Put them in a joint transition center. Not everyone, but those that are in highest need. Get them in a joint transition center. Get them the help they need, and then get a higher level review and find out whether they need a therapeutic intervention. Get them the help that they need. Review their case and decide whether they really need that bad paper discharge. Just don't put them on the trash heap of, they raised their right hand. They said that they'd serve. They maybe have gone through some trauma.
Thank you,
Get
AF
them the help
veteran.
they need, and then identify what they need. The third, those are the three recommendations, or part of the recommendations that the council made, that are common sense, make sense kind of recommendations that we made. So I leave those, and we have the reports.
Now, Jeremiah, I know you lying. Hold on, y'all. Are y'all reading this? I served 14 years and have numerous DD-214s with an honorable, and even one with commander selected for reenlistment. But because I refused an extension, they downgraded my separation and tried to give me an Article 15. All because you decided that you no longer want to sign the dotted line and put more years on your life away from your family. They wanted to downgrade your separation to give you an Article 15. This is crazy. But meanwhile, while we over there fighting about T Kava with them jokers, is going to get paid whether or not they vote or not. This is what's cooking behind the scenes at DOD. This is not even the VA. This is Department of War. This is Pete and his people. So my foot is on Pete neck too. You had a, Jesus, Lord have mercy. So you had a stroke and a disability, and they want, yeah, okay, I gotta keep going because I really don't even want to go there. They don't want the smoke, Mr. Ray. They don't want the smoke because they don't even want my smoke because I'm already feeling it rising up in me. Because of my OCH, I was turned away from the VA Medical Center even though I came in via ambulance. They all in cahoots together, Jeremiah. Oh, sorry, it was? Yeah. Sherry, crazy. These is just a few comments.
Months ago. They're just common sense recommendations.
Yeah, they are, they?
One, only those with dishonorable discharges
Absolutely.
should face
They
barring.
need to be held accountable for what
Where's
they've done.
Lieutenant Gay?
Two,
Did he
but
talk about this?
That's a bar. People go through a definite process
Absolutely.
for a dishonorable discharge. Two,
I'm about to keep sipping water all night.
less punitive approach to
Stay cool.
performance issues. And what was the third?
And the third was a joint transition centers where you have a thanks, Joy. Where you have a review. I'm not real smart.
I want to go back
but
for
at least
a
I'm
minute because
smart.
I missed.
And then you
Hold on, I want to go back for a little bit.
But those that are in highest need, get them in a joint transition center, get them the help they need, and then get a higher level review and find out whether they need a therapeutic intervention. Get them the help that they need. Review their case and decide whether they really need that bad paper discharge.
You think Pete getting help? He ain't getting
put
help.
them on the trash heap of they raised their right hand.
Yeah.
They said that they'd serve.
Yep.
They maybe have gone through some trauma.
Yep.
Get them the help they need.
Correct.
And then identify what they need. The third, those are the three recommendations, or part of the recommendations that the council made, that are common sense, make sense kind of recommendations that we made. So I'd leave those, and we have the reports, we've shared them, they're in the record. I testified before the Senate a couple of months ago.
It was him.
Common sense recommendations.
So to recap,
Yes, sir.
one, only those with dishonorable discharges
Absolutely.
should face
They
barring.
they need to be held accountable for what they've done.
So two, but that's a bar. People go through a definite process
Absolutely.
for a dishonorable discharge. Two, less punitive approach to performance
issues.
And what was the third?
And the third was a joint transition centers where you have thanks, Joy, where you have a review. I'm not real smart, but at least I'm slow. And then you have a review. You have a review of those performance issues, so that commander who's making that decision on the discharge, maybe there's another review of that discharge to make sure that the one that's so close maybe isn't the one making that determination. Someone else is going to look at that later, and making sure that all the things that maybe is affecting that soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine has been looked at and been taken care of before you.
I totally agree with this. And the reason why I agree with this is because sometimes commanders can get very nasty, especially when they know they're not going to meet the numbers for their deployment, or they're not performing in the way that whatever they boss want them to perform. So in any kind of way that they know that they can ruin your future, you can't tell me that they don't gather together to figure out what's happening. There is this young lady on TikTok, and I know she did a series about how her commander put her in a mental facility, all these different things that they did to her. Okay. And then they didn't even want to let her out. And then they figured if they put her out with a bad discharge, that she was not going to get her VA disability. Like, why do you even have VA disability on your lips when you work for Pete? Okay. Because why are you trying to ruin the future of somebody that you don't know, you probably would never see again? Why? Like, I don't understand how people sleep at night with an ill heart. To include my ex-husband. How do you sleep at night with ill in your heart? Okay? To know that you are hurting somebody and you are ruining their future. And you wake up every morning, you put your pants on, you put that little piece of hat on, and you put this uniform on, and you have taken the oath and you want to maintain these 5 different leadership skills, and you have every ill intent to ruin the future of a person between the ages of 18 and 40 or 50 years old, and you sleep good at night. Because my ex-husband doesn't sleep. So I'm just trying to figure out how is it, and why do they get to be the deciding factor? I had a client the other day. She had MST. She went to the commander to complain. You know what he did? He said, "Thank you for telling me," and gave her a coin. The lack of respect is so loud to PD Pablo and his people. And then you try to ruin their future. So you kicking them out the military, and you don't want them nothing good to happen to them. I'm too passionate about this. I know I do. I had talked to my therapist. I'm way too passionate about this because I can't even believe what I'm hearing right now. That you would jeopardize the future of somebody that you would probably never ever see in life. And you find it so appeasing that you know that this person, you're going to give them a bad conduct discharge, and they won't be able to get benefits, GI Bill, education, nothing. And you go and lay next to your wife or whoever it is at night, and you sleep comfortably. But you want to be, the best you can be with that kind of heart. Oh, my Lanta.
You just shoot them out.
Just one more question, then I'll open it to others. I'm curious about the
Literally.
relationship of the officers, the officer corps, how the military was constituted in terms of
Yes.
racial minorities
Yes.
in World War II as we move forward. So as a percentage, the racial minorities began to increase in percentage, say by the Vietnam War era and by the post 9/11 era. And
Yeah, off the chain too.
was there a commensurate diversification of the officer corps? Look, what we know, I'm a former educator, teacher. We know that there have been disproportionate disciplinary actions that teachers have taken, and there's been like reviews of the race of the teachers versus the race of the students, and the disproportionate discipline that's meted out to whether it's suspensions or expulsions from school systems. Have we observed over time some of what I might be alluding to here? So I see some. Oh, you have a comment about that?
I can share that there was a report published a few years back from an organization, Protect Our Defenders, that documented the disparities of service members of color and white service members, but in particular Black service members, and the rate of folks who were sent to court-martial as opposed to administratively discharged. And across the branches, much higher rates for Black service members to have their separations handled via court-martial than white service members of comparable misconduct and rank. So there's certainly data out there to support what you're alluding to, which is that there's more harsh punishment for Black service members, and the rates of discharge for those with less than honorable discharges are higher for veterans of color, even administrative separations. And there's been other reports since Protect Our Defenders, but I know of that one that has that data.
Yeah, I'll just note that in the case, the affirmative action case against Harvard and its admissions process, the Supreme Court made an exception for the military academies on the basis that there was a compelling interest for the military academies to be able to diversify the officer corps. And I don't remember, and I think some group is contesting that exception as well. So, what are we doing? Yeah, I want to acknowledge the presence of Delia Ramirez.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. I want to go and any questions from my colleagues before we move on? Go ahead, Dr. Morrison.
Thank you. I think I'm on. Can you hear me? I'm curious, I think we know that TBI, PTSD, MST are all linked, and I think I heard CRS repeat this, to dishonorable discharge. I'm just wondering, it strikes me that if you have service-connected brain injury or military sexual trauma that leads to misconduct, how do we weed through that? Because those people need to get care. It's not going to get better if they get no health care.
Right
So
here.
how do we correct for that? And I'm sorry if that's an obtuse question, but it strikes me as an important one.
Andrew Tangen, and then I think we have General McEwen also wanted to respond to that question. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Andrew Tangen, the president of NACVSO, National Association of County Veteran Service Officers. So to
I don't care
answer
about your
question,
title.
Dr.
Answer the
Morrison,
question.
you're correct. What we've seen over the last several years, and I know that Harvard is here. Harvard and Yale have represented veterans who have post-traumatic stress, MST, and TBIs who receive bad conduct discharges, who the discharge review boards of the various service branches have failed to follow something called the Hagel memo or the Curta memo. Both of those were written to give a liberalizing look at veterans who had post-traumatic stress, MST, and TBI in upgrading their discharges. And those premier law schools represented those veterans in a class action lawsuit, multiple class action lawsuits, actually, that they can probably talk a little bit more on, to hold those departments of DoD, those individual service departments, accountable for not following what they were instructed to follow. And it's a problem we see almost every day in the field.
Thank you. In general?
Dr. Morrison, one of the studies that we looked at showed that 433,000 veterans who were deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan found that 45% of those discharged for misconduct
Do the math,
were
somebody.
diagnosed with at least one mental health condition or substance use disorder, compared to 20% of those discharged under routine conditions. So there's data out there that shows the kind of information that he was just discussing. And so that leads us to that discussion of a higher review being required rather than just the commander in the field making the determination that there needs to be, for these kind of cases, a separate review done at a joint transition center to do exactly the thing that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
To look at who's been affected and is the proper review being done, because currently the proof's there that it's not.
Thank you, General. Dana Montalto.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Morrison, to answer your question, also return to some of the questions about.
Pull the microphone closer.
Sure, thank you. To answer your question about exactly the paradox, as General McEwen said, of someone having a in-service experience of trauma that could be related to military sexual trauma, traumatic brain injury, racial discrimination, other forms of discrimination, they absolutely are caught in this loop where then they are barred from the care that they absolutely need. And I will give some credit to VA for its regulatory changes 2 years ago, that they added a compelling circumstances consideration that did say, if you've experienced sexual assault, if you've experienced mental or physical health conditions, that's something VA now can consider, but that's a change from only 2 years ago. And we're still seeing how that's playing out. And it still requires that veterans go through that individual review, disclose about their trauma, and that compelling circumstances consideration is narrowed to only certain veterans. So it's a very small slice compared to, and I don't know exactly why VA decided to pick and choose and not say anyone who's had those experiences, we will consider that and weigh it in the.
They shouldn't be pick and choosing.
The misconduct that led to your discharge and what might have happened to you in service that could have led to the misconduct. I do want to return to the question also about numbers and data, because the 26 data that people are citing is from a FOIA request that we did and we published on behalf of Swords to Plowshares and the National Veterans Legal Services Program. And I agree entirely, it is dated. And I want to note it was only on the initiative of outside organizations that asked DOD and VA for this information. And I think there's a systemic lack of data.
Yes.
There are data that are easily accessible
Yes.
within the Defense Manpower Data Center, within VA's own computers, but they're not doing the proactive analysis. It takes outside pressure to get them to do that.
Y'all heard that?
Really important insights about what is the impact on this population. VA does estimate that about 570,000 veterans are currently living with bad paper. So thinking about like the general scope right now, that's of all eras. And we do think probably since World War II, about 2 million veterans overall have received bad paper.
Pay attention, Ms. K.
Right to think the higher mobilizations from Vietnam did mean that there's a big population of Vietnam veterans who are impacted, but we do have these really increasing rates for post 9/11 veterans when I don't think anyone in this room would say that they're less honorable than the generations that came before.
Thank you. Kyle Bibby.
Yeah, memo, I guess, before email.
Thank you for convening this, Ranking Member Takano. I'm Kyle Bibby, co-CEO of the Black Veterans Project. I served as a captain in the Marine Corps. Black Veterans Project is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that uses research, narrative storytelling, and public advocacy and impact litigation to combat discrimination for Black veterans and their families and what they've endured for generations. I think you had asked earlier a bit about, like, if I'm understanding correctly, your question was about like the representation of Black service members in the military. Black service members are about 17% of the military, so we're actually overrepresented based off of our population in the country, but that does not hold over to the officer corps. And just regarding some of the data we have regarding some of the issues that Black veterans have been facing that are akin to this. In 2001, the Freedom of Information Act, we used the Freedom of Information Act, to collect data with the National Veterans Council for Legal Redress to find that the VA had data from 2001 to 2020 that Black veterans were denied disability benefits at an average rate of 29.5% compared to 24.2% for white veterans. Even when those claims were granted, their disabilities were generally rated less severe. So on top of the fact that there's a discrepancy in how the military justice system is working, we know that there's also some discrepancy in how these benefits are still being administered in the VA. Our concern going forward is that in October, we of course have this razor bump bill, or razor bump policy, that is that's set to move forward. And if we already have concerns about like how the character of discharge process is being run for Black veterans prior to this razor bump issue, we're looking at potentially, we don't have the exact numbers, but there's thousands of veterans that hold shaving exemptions as of 2024. Roughly about 2/3 of Black service members could be impacted by this. Some of them are impacted by it to a point where they don't necessarily have medical shaving waivers. I got razor bumps when I was in, but fortunately it was not bad enough where I needed to get a no-shave chit, as we called it in the Marine Corps. But we're gonna potentially see a large population of service members, not just Black, but overwhelmingly Black, who will be potentially now.
That's what I said the other day.
Administrative separation, but also punitive issues should, this is just one more thing for a commander to seize on. And commanders who might not necessarily understand the intricacies of pseudofolliculitis barbae, which is the razor bump issue. So, we think it's something that the committee should be very aware of. October 1st is when this should go into effect.
Yeah, so Mr. Bibby, thank you for that. My curiosity was about the percentage of Black or minority military service members, say in World War II when it was a draft, versus we arrive at the Vietnam, well actually post-Vietnam War era, where the military becomes all volunteer. Trying to get my understanding of, so you cited the statistics of Black soldiers, Black military service members constituting 17% of the service member corps, but not a commensurate percentage of the officer corps. And so to me, it sets up as a way to try to understand the increase in discipline that's been meted out in these more recent conflict eras, to understand the dynamic. And so it would be helpful for me to understand what was the percentage of, say, Black service members in the World War II conflict to compare. But if you don't have that, don't worry about it. It was just.
I would assume it was less, just because they were loath to bring in Black service members at all. Our first interview for Black Veterans Project was with David Dinkins, former mayor of New York City. He was a Montford Point Marine. He spoke to us at length about like the difficulty of them even making the decision to have Black Marines.
Look at the VFW in the back. Look.
Obviously, that grew over time in necessity as more wars took place.
They ain't saying nothing.
And of course, the officer corps was essentially non-existent at the time for Black service members.
Great. Any other questions before we move on? All right. Rose Carmen Goldberg.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to respond to your question, Dr. Morrison, and thank you for raising it and reminding us of the urgency
Thank
of
you,
the
Rose.
situation. Some of these processes, CRS very helpfully talked through some of the remedies available to veterans with bad paper discharges. So you have on the Department of Defense side, discharge upgrades, on the VA side, character of discharge review. On the Department of Defense side, wait times for some of the boards are up to 4 years long. So this is not a quick
4
remedy.
years.
On the character of discharge side, it can be pretty hard to win on the initial request. You often need to appeal, particularly if you don't have an attorney. So that can also run you years. And during that time, as you mentioned, veterans with TBI who've experienced MST, other types of mental health conditions are going without VA healthcare. The VA has created a system that I have come to think of as a very expensive Swiss cheese. They have these different exceptions and they keep on adding on exceptions. So you can, as yours mentioned, you can get VA healthcare for MST related conditions. If you file for a VA character of discharge, and they recognize you have service connected conditions, but not that they don't recognize you as honorable. They won't give you benefits, but they will allow you to get healthcare specifically for conditions they have recognized are service connected. They won't provide you compensation for. So it seems VA is moving in the right direction. Going to Ranking Member, your comment about currently the VA rules are overly restrictive, and there's sort of argument and statutory basis to say that veterans with other than honorable discharges just automatically have access to healthcare. But the system we have now is folks who may be suicidal, really struggling, maybe waiting 4 years and trying to navigate this Swiss cheese that is very costly.
I hope y'all hit the like button.
Thank you. Stephanie Brooks Holiday.
Thank you. I also just wanted to revisit the question of how do you ensure that, for example, a service-connected disability or condition is taken into consideration, and the idea that was raised of a higher level review board. I think that is a really important consideration, because we know even from the civilian criminal justice system that discretion is one of the factors that most drives disparities, whether it's by race or whether it's by a mental health condition. And so having a higher level review board does help to address that. But I think it's also important to think about what would need to happen in that higher level review board to ensure that we are addressing the potential for disparities or for a service connected condition to be taken into account. And so I think part of it is having clinicians who are formally involved in those review processes, and that also goes for any of the discharge review board processes as well. Also having a more structured protocol. I'm with the discharge review boards. The idea of giving liberal consideration to a mental health condition is still really non-specific. Or thinking about what that would look like in a higher level review board before someone is separated. So I think that having structured protocols that outline how these criteria are intended to be considered is really important. We know that clinical judgment is often as unreliable as just a layperson making a decision. That's why in psychological practice, we have structured assessment instruments. So I think it's really important that those types of protocols exist. I think one concern that people have is, how do I separate the mental health condition and the sequelae of that from the misconduct that may have taken place, and how much might be driven by the mental health condition, the TBI, the aftermath of MST. Again, on the civilian side, forensic psychologists are called all the time to assess the nexus between a mental health condition or a behavioral health condition and someone's conduct. So there is precedent for this happening. It's just not formally integrated into the Department of War at this time.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'd like to shift topics just slightly and talk about the process for veterans to upgrade their discharges. I know the process is cumbersome, the evidentiary burden is high, and success is rare. But surely there are some success stories that are buried in the denials of the appeals. Do any of you have any experience in helping veterans through this process? And if so, can you tell us about it? And does anyone here have any recommendations for reform on the DoD side of the house? And before I go ahead and ask your question, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I just actually had two specific questions that were really related to this. So while you're answering, maybe we can do a two-in-one. My question was, how often does a veteran who applies for a military discharge upgrade actually get one? And what is the upstream work you think is necessary to ensure that Black and Brown veterans do not have to apply for reviews as frequently? So I just figure they're related if you can try to answer those while you're answering.
Thank you very much. And then I'll first call on Brandon McLean, and if you have something different, it's okay if you don't specifically answer my question, but go ahead, Brandon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Ray.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ranking Member. I wanted to speak in regarding to the process from a benefits perspective. I don't have exact numbers, and our service officers aren't in the American Legion are not designed to deal with discharge upgrades.
Who's you?
Our service officers' workload has had about a 5 to 10% increase.
American
in
Legion.
support for discharge.
Yeah, please.
Character discharge request support. So we have had to lean on the Virginia National Guard, Veterans Consortium, and other organizations.
No apologies.
Specialize in that.
We still party.
Our referral increase to those organizations has begun to rise. And I just wanted to plant the seed for this conversation here that as we're looking into automation and claims improvement and transition support, and as gaps and resource information begins to be addressed, I would maybe argue that we look at the opportunity to create a transition support for folks who are being discharged so that they can be educated on what benefits are available, and then increase service officer coordination with that so we can assist with the handover when they leave military service. I stumbled through that, but I hope I conveyed my message properly.
Thank you, Brandon. Jim Science?
What? Really?
Thank you, Ranking Member Takano, distinguished members of Congress. My name is Jim Sines. I'm President of Hispanic Veterans Leadership Alliance. And I just want to, first of all, thank all of my colleagues for the great work they've done. So far, we've heard some data, and we already heard some wonderful suggestions. But I'd like to fall back and reinforce the fact that we are greatly lacking data in this area.
And do?
We have already heard indications. The data that we do have has shown some disproportionality on how Black service members have been treated. We don't have the data on other ethnicities, sexual orientation, so on and so forth, so that we can make some of those same sort of determinations. Despite the great work that RAND and CRS and others have done, that data has either not been collected or has not been released, and I think that would help us all do a much better job. To your point, Ranking Member Takano, about the diversity of the officer corps, without that data, it's hard to make a determination, but it certainly follows your logic that if the officer corps is not as diverse as the service members it leads, there are probably going to be challenges not only in this area, but in other areas.
I'm sorry.
And we know that the Hispanic population of military service members is about 19%, which tracks with the current percentage of our citizenry in the United States. We also know that the officer corps is about 8% Hispanic Latino. But the general officer, flag officer level has never been above 3%, despite the fact that we've had Hispanics and Latinos honorably serving this nation since.
I know you's not bringing your tail to this table to talk good about these people because you Colonel what Jim retired. Don't come up here and try to justify, okay, y'all wrongdoings. Do not come to the cookout like that. Don't come and justify, because what y'all did to these military service members and what you were doing to the veterans are wrong. Okay, don't come with no justification, because it's been proven that's what y'all do. And the same person that's down the table, that's the general, he says y'all do it. So y'all in cahoots together. All y'all in the cahoots together. Don't come down here trying to act that bedroom voice and fixing to do nothing.
The Revolutionary War. And so that's something that we need to collect more data on. We need to be
About
aware
more
of,
data, my
not only
foot.
for this issue, but other issues. To your point about the characterization of discharges and then the appeals process, I just want to highlight that it is further complicated if you are a lawful permanent resident and were unable to get your citizenship before you were discharged.
Ranking member, hold on. I'm
At any time, but certainly in this environment, that makes it very difficult to come forward and to bring your concerns about your discharge and any type of appeals process. Moreover, we know that our veterans get a lot of support from their family members, and it's usually the family members that help them through their challenges. That is further complicated if you come from a family where English is the second language and not the primary language within your household. So these are other further complicating factors that we always need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Tangen.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just you wanted to hear some difficulty in navigating the system.
Yes.
And to answer Congresswoman Ramirez's question, in Lake County, Illinois, where my home office is, we represent about 10 to 15 veterans a year on discharge upgrades, and we have anywhere between a 30 and 50% success rate at the initial review board of that. But in several situations, which I don't think anybody has brought up yet, and if they have, I apologize for missing it. But one of the big reasons that we have these issues where we have this disproportionate high percentage of post 9/11 veterans is the stop loss that occurred during Iraq and Afghanistan in the early to mid 2000s.
Awesome.
Where veterans who had served already in one war zone who were coming up on their discharge were forced to stay in and then deploy again. We have seen veterans who had, on their first deployment to Iraq, had several instances where they had traumatic brain injuries because of IEDs, definitely were struggling with post-traumatic stress, and their choice was to get kicked out of the military rather than go back.
Yep.
We've also seen veterans who were stop lost.
Yeah, look at his hair. I'm going off
family issues where members of their family, whether it was their spouse or their children or their parents, were dying and requested the U.S. military
jail got that thing standing up.
were then sent to Iraq or Afghanistan and the request denied, and within a matter of weeks received multiple Red Cross messages where they were then sent back home and then decided to take matters into their own hands and do things that got them kicked out of the military. And there are multiple African American and Hispanic veterans that affects and that we have represented in Lake County, Illinois.
Thank you. Joy Craig.
He's a VSO, y'all.
Thank you, Ranking Member Takano. I appreciate you hosting this meeting today, and this is such an important topic. The VFW approaches transition or character of discharge from both a benefits and a transition.
We can't even hear.
The VFW, just like the American Legion, we don't actually assist with character of discharge appeals, but we do provide advice. And
correct. Ain't no action happening.
For this roundtable today, I asked our senior veteran service officer, what can you tell me about character of discharge? What have you heard? And he said, well, first of all, it comes down to culture. And you asked just a moment ago for suggestions on the DoD side of the house. He was explaining to me that in all of the reviews that he's dealt with over the years, he's never seen a Marine receive a discharge turnover and upgrade. And that speaks to culture within the ranks. And so before the discharge, I understand the jurisdiction of this committee and what you can do on the post-discharge, to react to this, but pre-discharge, the culture within the services, it's a very slippery slope, as our colleague just said, that once somebody gets flagged as disruptive in any way, even if you have an emergency that pulls you out of the deployment, you have to go home, well, now you're branded. And it's a slippery slope towards a very quick exit from the military.
Yes.
So the culture, Mac would talk about the commander's dilemma. The commander is tasked with mission readiness.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
And if they have somebody that they deem a problem, they could easily use the Uniform Code of Military Justice to get that person in the discharge.
The Dairy Queen hat.
Get rid of somebody. It's very common, if a service member leaves the military believing that the wording on their DD 214 permanently excludes them from any kind of VA benefits. And once that sets in, once that's in their head, they'll just be I might be projecting, but they might be disgruntled. They might just go forward and plow through and say, well, I'm never going to ask for any help. I'm never going to seek a discharge because they don't know that it's an option, or they think that they're just permanently disqualified.
Yeah, my mama gonna watch this later.
The discharge part of it, the DoD's responsibility for this needs to be reviewed. I think the commanders have a lot of sway and a lot of ability to have.
We have too much fun over here.
Outcomes on these service members, and as the general mentioned, maybe a second level review before somebody's discharge needs to occur.
Oh, I can't breathe.
The Veterans Committee and the Armed Services Committee hold a joint hearing on this and transition a little bit more broad swath. Fortunately, there's a provision in both the House and the Senate NDAA right now that would establish a senior DoD official for transition, and that person might be able to really address the culture issues with this.
So, Joy, would that be a new position within the department?
Yes.
A transition.
The Undersecretary for Personnel and Readiness would establish this position at the ASD, USD type level.
Okay. Thank you. That's currently a live amendment.
It
in
is.
The NDAA.
It's in both chambers of Representative Houlihan. They got it in the Senator Duckworth and Ossoff over in the Senate. We were highly supportive of that.
For real.
Glad you brought it to my attention. Yeah, thank you.
We can't take nothing serious.
Rose Carmen Goldberg.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I do want to highlight in regards to wait times for discharge upgrades is right now the boards are prioritizing record reviews for veterans discharged due to the COVID vaccine requirements, and they have put those folks to the front of the pile. I believe about 8,000 service members were discharged because of not complying with the COVID vaccine requirements. I want to say about 50% of those got a general discharge. So we can see that the boards can move quickly when they would like to, and they are doing so. I think the Air Force has already gone through the reviews for this cohort of veterans. But on the other side, they are supposed to expedite discharge upgrade applications for veterans whose discharge is connected to a mental health condition, and they simply aren't doing so. So I'd want to hear more from the boards. Clearly you're capable of doing this, but you're doing it in a very selective manner. Another point in terms of the
Before she go any further, do y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that Pete was taking back the people that got out based on the COVID vaccine, that he wanted them to come back? But the people who got out, the 8,000 who got out because they did not want to take the COVID vaccine, they had dishonorable discharges. So they had to go before the board and turn them around to general. And I think they've done 50% of them right so far. So it goes to show that the board can move a lot faster, but guess who's on the board? The same colonels and generals that gave them bad conduct discharges. Who y'all think is on the board. Y'all, listen. Do you know that when it comes to them GS positions, they hire their friends, they hire their buddies, they call them on the phone and ask them, do they want a job? This is what they're doing. They're hiring the same type of people that gave the same type of discharges. And these are the people that's making the decision. You can't tell me otherwise unless you show me something else different. And y'all know what I'm saying is true. When it comes to a GS position, if you know somebody that knows somebody, especially in the years that have gone by, if you were getting out and you knew somebody in the department and they was hiring, you just had to call them and they would go pull your application, you would get the job. So the same people right now that's at the board of correction review and the other one, those are the same colonels and generals that gave them bad discharges and the discharges that they should have never gave in the first place. And that's why it's so hard to get your discharge turned over. Because obviously, if there's somebody on the board who don't agree with them, that's where it gets hung up at. Okay? And I know I told you guys before about when I was getting out the military, I was med boarded. Okay? I was med boarded. I had a certain sickness that was really bad. When I got out, they gave me 0%. Okay? 0%. I walked away with severance pay, knowing good and well that I got sick based on my deployments. Well, I was sitting at home one day and I heard the doorbell ring. You know who it was? The Department of Defense telling me that they made a mistake based on bias of my discharge, and I went from 0% to my percentage increase where I became medically retired. So the same thing that happened then is still happening now, and that was with my med board. The same people who are making the med board decisions are the same colonels, generals, whatever, that's making the decision. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? It's a pattern of behavior here for the same type of people.
Very long
time
wait time. It really feels like a black hole for veterans, and as an attorney who's represented countless veterans, in discharge upgrades, we're talking about 2-year, 4-year wait times with often very little communication from the boards, which also leads to the odd result that the boards are making decisions based on information that may be 4 years old. And there may be very positive evidence that has developed in that passage of time. There's little opportunity for veterans to be able to present additional evidence. So that'd be another recommendation for veterans to be able to be given notice that they can supplement their applications and add positive evidence. Another point is there has been discussion about the Hagel and the CURTA memos that provide guidance to the boards and instruct them to provide liberal consideration to discharge upgrade applications based on mental health conditions. They are completely silent as to racism, and we've just talked about all of the data about the higher rate of less than honorable discharges for Black veterans in particular, but yet on the tail end of that in terms of relief, the memos are completely silent. So I'd want to see, of course, a solution on the front end, but short of that being solved immediately, I think it's also important for the boards to consider whether racism was at play for bad paper discharge being issued. And just maybe 2 more points. As an attorney, there are some very serious procedural issues. I often don't get notice from the board. They're supposed to contact attorneys. My clients are unhoused. They move, and that can cause issues with effectively proceeding with the application. I recently submitted an application very close to the 15-year deadline for a veteran at the Discharge Review Board, and I got a very quick response saying it was untimely. They weren't allowed to file, which was a lie. And I've spoken with other attorneys. They've had a similar experience, and a perhaps cynical view would be that the boards are concerned about their backlog and trying to, get people out of line. But just very, very blatant stuff like that, where actually the submission was timely, and if the veteran had been underrepresented, they may not have known better to, press on, and they may just never have applied.
I see. Thank you. So there's probably some need for oversight on how these boards operate.
Yeah, very much so.
Dana Montalto.
Thank you. I'll definitely echo Rose's experiences. In our clinic, we've represented a number of veterans who have received less than honorable discharges. We have a fair amount of success, but it also takes a lot of time. We pull together expert evidence and letters of support and military records. You really have to put together a very
Yes, you
robust
do.
packet in order to convince the boards that this person should be awarded relief. And I don't think we should design a system where you need a lawyer or even you need a non-attorney advocate.
Mhm.
A veteran should be able to be successful on their own. And right now,
Yeah,
the
very
success rates
unfair
are
to those
very, very
people
low.
to, yeah, to
To
try
their
and
credit,
see.
at least Congress did require the boards to release quarterly data, and so we can see that it varies across boards, but the overall success rates are in the teens for most boards. They're higher in cases involving don't ask, don't tell related discharges,
Mhm.
involving military sexual trauma, and involving
Yeah.
health conditions, but still that means maybe they're getting up to 50% of a success
The
rate.
board doesn't even have a 50% successful rate.
And I think we've seen a lot of success from the Curta and Hagel memorandum and giving the boards a framework. Here's some questions to answer, and then this is how it's liberal consideration is still vague, but it's less vague than all of the other standards that they apply. And there really isn't an equivalent for racial discrimination, even though DOD itself has published numerous reports about discrimination and impacts on Black and Native American service members. And it's also, there's nothing about pretextual discharges for people who maybe were discharged for their sexual orientation or based
Mhm.
on other
Yeah.
characteristics. They only look
Very
narrowly
small
at
window.
discharged under don't ask, don't tell or a parallel policy. Not did they find something else to put into your record and then use that as the basis to separate you. And I think the boards really could use a lot more guidance, and that would lead to a lot more success. And that really does compare to this.
Yes.
The boards have embraced.
They're going to have a committee hearing about this to have insight.
Vaccine refusals, where they're doing proactive outreach in the community and sending people letters, and not only providing relief as to discharge status, but also providing relief in terms of, did you have any demotion? Should we reinstate you into service? Are there other types of remedies we should provide besides just discharge status? And I just want to close by noting that although there's a lot of work to be done on the boards, I also want to recognize, not take the attention off of VA and its
Correct.
responsibility, because even if we're able to improve the separation process, which would be great, it still may be very difficult for a service member to come forward at that moment under pressure, whatever they're experiencing.
For real, Brina.
Is really happening to them. We just see so many of our clients, we're the first person they tell that they experienced sexual assault in the military, and it's been decades. And so we need to still think about, well, what could we have done to support that veteran until they were ready to talk about it? Maybe they would have disclosed it earlier if they had access to VA. And VA is the one who really has a separate mission, not about
What the lady in the red jacket writing?
and mission fulfillment, but really about
I wish I could
caring
see
for
that
them,
notepad.
helping them succeed in their post-service lives. And to Joy's point about like
Hit the like button, y'all.
service members who get a less than honorable discharge come out of the military and feel like they actually don't deserve anything, and how that impacts the actions and choices that they make. We know from VA that only about 8% of veterans with less than honorable discharges have ever gone through the character of discharge review. More than 90% aren't even really trying, probably because they don't think they're eligible.
Correct.
They're turned away at the front door. They're told, our doors aren't open to you. And so I think there's a lot of work that VA can do.
She got your name down, Charlton. She got your name down.
Get into the process. Many people do have success, but they're not even trying in the first place.
They need some very affirmative, encouraging signals and communication. Okay, so I want to, we'll get to those folks that have indicated they wanted to say something, but I also just want to move the discussion in just another direction. So let's move over to the VA side of the equation.
This is the good side right here.
Talk about
Discuss
the character of discharge evaluation process. One thing that has always struck me is that these determinations, which carry so much weight, seem to be opaque, to both the veteran and the person who might be helping them. Can anyone share their insight as to how the process looks from the veteran or service officer perspective? And what do we think VA could do better in that process to make things easier for the veteran? We mentioned that we need to encourage veterans to actually attempt to go through this process. And similarly, to what extent are appeals of negative determination successful? Justin Hart. And if you had something else in mind, you can kind of talk about that, but I wanted to get people thinking about
All right,
well.
let's see here. Perfect. Thank you, Ranking Member Takano. Pleasure to be here. Absolute pleasure to see everyone here on the panel. I'm definitely taking a lot back from this. My name is Justin Hart. I'm an Assistant National Service Director with DAV. We represent nearly 1 million members across the nation. Real quick, just to kind of pivot. Surrounding our organization, we represent veterans absolutely 100% of the time in the character of discharge determination before the VA, right? But on the back end of that, we also have a very close relationship with the Veterans Consortium, who also provides representation for veterans who are pursuing their discharge upgrades. First things first, it comes down to data. Like I've heard a lot of folks on the panel mention, I think we're all firm believers here that we need to get updated data when it comes to DoD and what they're witnessing, but also facilitate the training on the forefront end to really explain and provide more rationale on the decisions that are being made by those commanding officers who are signing off on those administrative decisions, right? In addition to that, surrounding with the VA, also more training. I know they've done, they've definitely increased some outreach throughout the recent past years having to do with discharge upgrades and their impacts on VA benefits as far as the review process goes. But I would say that a lot of the misunderstanding or the difficulties surrounding our veterans really just come down to a few different key areas on our end. I think that the same thing could be said both on the DoD's end and pursuing the discharge review board as far as the discharge upgrade. Also, an upgrade for discharge with the Board of Correction and Military Records, such as insufficient evidence coming to the board initially with not having enough evidence or proof, a lack of understanding of the process from beginning to end on what to expect, like on our end and on their end, connecting misconduct to service-related conditions and how those impact to hit back on what Andrew said earlier. He was talking about veterans going back for a second tour, those stop loss, so on and so forth. Personally speaking, I served 6.5 years in the military. I was one of those veterans that got stop loss. In 2003, my truck got hit by an anti-tank mine. I got blown up like 20 feet in the air. Got medevac back, got redeployed back, right? I volunteered to go back, right? Because it's the right thing to do. And then on our second deployment, that's when we got stop loss. And that was the worst of it, right? And I can honestly say, from my personal experience and, with a lot of our fellow comrades, my close friends, when they came back and they lost the ability in being able to receive those benefits, it created a significant challenge on their part on receiving the health care that they really need, right? Personal experience, I've had a close friend of mine, used to hang out with, taught me how to play pool, right? When I was in the military, never played pool before, he taught me how to do it. And, unfortunately, years later, did I learn that he ended up passing due to suicide. So it's crucially important that we facilitate training on both sides of that. Another part is limited knowledge of liberal consideration of policies. Many veterans are unaware of the memos or unaware that they're even entitled to benefits through a character of discharge determination. So it's very important that we get that word out and get it out as soon as we can. Also procedural mistakes, obviously.
Let me pause them a little bit. So I want to say this here. Let me go big. I want to say this here. The people that sit at the table that says, oh, veterans don't have the information that they need. My question is, if you know that veterans don't have the information they need, why don't you prepare some type of something to newsletter, some kind of something to give them the documents that they need? because we all know that as a VSO or a VSO, you work for DAV, DAW, whatever, they're overwhelmed. Okay. And they know that veterans need these upgrades, right? You can't help them. You have no type of written guidance to give them. Then they go to these expensive attorneys that they have to pay. Then they don't get successful results. And then you come up on a panel and you talk like this. It irritates my soul because you're not doing anything. He was too cool for school, Mr. DAV. Yet Navy and the Coast Guard, you can be administered as part as your punishment 3 days of bread and water. Yes, yes. I'm gonna go forward to this because he's gonna be talking a long time, and what he got to say really don't have nothing. I want to go forward on this because Takano said something at the end that I want you guys to listen to before we end the stream. But it's just wild. It's just wild to me that this is definitely what's happening. Hold on, I gotta add the screen back. Because he was talking about how the VA disseminates information, but veterans don't get the information because the VA should be sending it via paper. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Okay, let me hit play so we can get to the end of this.
We're gonna move to General McEwen as our final speaker, and then we'll move to a closing.
Thank you.
Go ahead, General.
Thank you, sir. Again, thank you for doing this roundtable. Sir, one of the things that we talked about was how substance abuse, these bad paper discharges often are
it's the death sentence for veteran.
Increased risk for substance abuse, homelessness, but we didn't address criminal justice involvement. And while we talk about 6% of bad paper discharges, those that are incarcerated, it's 18% of those that are incarcerated have bad paper discharges. So we know that if you have a bad paper discharge, you're more likely, 3 times more likely than the other population to be criminal justice involved. We know that nearly 1/3 of our veterans have been arrested or booked in jail at least once compared to 1 in 5 non-veterans.
Wow.
So bad paper is just another indicator. And veterans are twice as likely than non-veterans to face incarceration, and tens of thousands are currently in prison. The suicide rate for our veterans are 1.5 times higher than the rates of the general population, and especially high for those that leave incarceration. So bad paper follows with this story
everywhere,
forever and ever.
Exactly.
And so we've got to do better. I appreciate what you're doing and what this whole gaggle, which I now call a gaggle of friends.
What do I call it, guys? A death sentence.
So thank you very
much. You have all landed upon or found this particular mission in your lives, and it's very moving to be in your presence. And General McEwen, it's particularly moving to witness what you have done with your post.
They paid a lot of money for that.
Continuation of that career, really. So I just want to thank. It's always good to have a purpose, no matter where you are in life.
No, not you. The audio is poor.
High-minded purpose, which this is. So I thank you all for being here. It's clear to me, as often is, that we have a lot more work to do to ensure that all deserving veterans have access to their earned benefits. I believe, as Dr. King said, that the arc of the moral universe is that it bends toward justice, and I think that those in this room believe that as well. But we are also realistic in that belief. We know that to bend that arc requires effort. It won't bend by itself. And to get to a place of equity, we must continue to work, to advocate, to push policy changes that uplift those who need it most,
No, not
especially even
necessarily.
where
No,
it's not in my jurisdiction.
depends.
We will push forward. I thank all of you for taking this task to heart and to working tirelessly to benefit our nation's veterans. I'm heartened today by the passion and dedication in this room, and I know that veterans watching at home see that they have fierce advocates in their corner, which should give them immense hope.
No,
It does for me.
y'all got
If
hope.
you're a
Put it in
veteran
the comments.
watching
Y'all got
live
hope.
stream, I hope that you'll reach out.
Let me
Maybe
know
you
if
are
y'all got
yourself
hope.
someone that has bad paper, but if you know veterans with bad paper, that you will let them know that there is a process currently at VA. It's more cumbersome than it needs to be right now, but there are advocates for you. So, find a veterans service organization, go to a county veterans service officer, um, go to the DAV, the VFW, the American Legion. There are people that can help you. So thank you for being here today, and please make it safely back home. Thank you.
Let's give the veterans who have the death sentence based on administrative decisions a moment of silence. Because when they go in there to a VSW to say, "Oh, I need help," they gonna tell them, "Oh, I can't help you because I don't know what to do." Okay, I don't know what to do. I have no idea of what to do. Because obviously, VSOs don't have an idea of what to do when it comes to a character of discharge. We all know that. We've heard, yeah, do something. Let's see. Years ago, Takano would have been put in an Arizona concentration camp being Japanese. Every base where there's DUI, they were discharged. Oh, they were discharged. Oh, I had a couple of army mates that got a DUI and then got discharged. Actually, they did 20 years. I've witnessed Master Chief in the Navy, his command along him to, yeah. While he was being investigated for an SA of his daughters, he served 15 years. Yeah, it depends on the command. I need a sandwich to go with my popcorn. Yeah, you need a red cup. My hope is in Jesus, not the VA state, not in my VSOs. So this, I wanted to bring this to light because this happened the same day of Tikava. After Takano left, he went to this, round table. Like, y'all, if you don't see what's happening, lots of stuff is happening behind our backs. So right now, somebody said it earlier. Is this the cut to give money to Tikava? Where are they cutting money at? How are they doing all these things? And my question is, how are they just coming up with these things like back to back to back to back to back? Where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? All of a sudden, it gets like, it just goes wild. It just goes crazy. It just goes crazy. So now you're like, okay, what next? Because you know something else is coming. This is not it. But the fact that the annual clothing allowance, yeah, we talked about that the other day. Annual clothing allowance deadline is August 1st. We talked about this, right? You serve your country, you raise your hand. Yes, you got drunk, you did a little bit of something. Now they want to ruin your future. So now you can't receive health care, disability, compensation, education benefits, nothing at all. You can't even get a pill from the VA, and you can't even, as you can tell, he was in the comments, you can't even go to the VA hospital for an emergency. This is what you call an administrative death sentence. That's what it's called. So you have no room at all to grow in the veteran community. Okay. Everybody's talking about their disability, this and disability that. You over there waiting 4 years for the board to revisit your discharge, and it's the same kind of people who recommended for you to get that discharge. Do you really think that you have a good chance? You don't. Literally this, just snakes. Keeping points is multiple periods of service, even back to back. It's contract. Good contract first years, in trouble after that. You get you and another. Yes, the different service periods matter. I really couldn't hear what the guy was talking about, the razor bumps, because they really didn't use the microphone like it should. But they were talking about based on certain races, when it comes to the razor bumps, what kind of measures they're going to put in place. So I think something is going to be put in place at the end of this month. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it, but also in caption, so I can give you guys a little synopsis of what that was. There's a lot. This is a lot. I get a lot of people who ask me about, and I can say everybody that I have done a character of discharge, because it took a long time, they all have been successful. I have done maybe approximately almost 50 now. I've been doing them for some years now. But when I tell you a character of discharge takes a long time, you need a nexus letter from a provider. You need letters from your family. You need to go back to your command and see if you can get letters from your old first sergeant. You need medical evidence. You need your diagnosis. You need so much. Okay. And then you also have to write a statement. And then if you get denied, it's kind of like the VA. If you're going to appeal it, you have to appeal it with new evidence. So you can't use the same old evidence that you sent into them before. You have to have a different set of evidence. So then if you find another provider to give you a second medical opinion, then you can use that. But when you're doing a character of discharge, you have to work towards it. And VSOs, they don't have time to do that because it actually takes work. It takes work. Actually, you can survive this. I did. You got to be strategic and you know how to go to work. Correct. You can. You make it. It's been 31 years since my OTS. I'm homeless and asked for help through the VA, and it's an act of God to receive it. Yeah, the VA is not going to help. They consider us veterans as the has-been, whereas current service members are the end thing. That's why Pete, the Deet, gets everything he wants and old Dougie gets cut. Correct. You're absolutely true. And how sound fine is you're going to have to work hard at this discharge upgrade. Very hard. Very hard. Okay. I mean, I've seen some discharges that even when you look at the paperwork, because you know it takes long to get your it takes long when you go through NPRC to get your record. Some of the stuff that you see in there, it was like, you got discharged for this? You got discharged for taking the MRE from the commissary? Now, I've had a couple of discharges where it was related to MST, some related to TBI. Now, that's where the medical evidence plays a role in getting the discharge overturned. But it takes a lot of work, guys. It is not easy. You spend hours of reading medical records, pulling out different things, because you have to send substantial evidence to the board. Because remember, I told you, it's the same people that discharge you that's sitting on the board right now. The people who think that you should never been in there, it's their friends that's sitting at the board. It should be a conflict of interest, but it's not. It's not. So I wanted to bring this conversation to you guys' attention. This is what's happening. So before they even get out, they're having a death, they're given a death, administrative death sentence of paperwork. Because I heard people who recorded their commander that said, when you get your DD 214, you'll remember me then. When you say stuff like that, that's cold-hearted. Yeah, univests are the best evidence. And you know, I actually had a character of discharge where the person requested to go in person to sit before the staff. So you have that option as well, but it has to be open to you based on the certain circumstances. But discharge upgrades, yeah. But anyway, guys, I know we still have to go over TCAVA. Do y'all want to go over that tomorrow night? Because I know y'all are waiting for TCAVA. Because of the OTH and being turned away, I have a tort claim. Yeah, that's a lot too, because remember, if you decide to sue the company that you are requesting help from, they're going to stop helping you. They're going to put everything on halt and deal with you suing them. So you have to make wise decisions. It's kind of like you suing the federal government based on their actions. They're not going to do anything else for you because you're already suing them. So they don't want to make the mistake twice. Think about what I just said. Yep. So you have to be careful. You have to be very careful. Heard BASH vouchers funding increase. You can get VA pension with the OTA. Ask this lady for help. Yeah, we've linked together, and I'll take some time with Hopstone Finest. I will put him on my calendar probably for next week. Hope I can find a spot. But that's what I wanted to talk to you guys. When do y'all want to go over TCAVA? Because I know y'all want to. When do y'all want to go over TCAVA? Tomorrow, Sunday, what? When are we going over TCAVA? Are we going over the hearing? Are we going over Boston, Takano? And then we can talk about what went down. Do y'all want to go over TCAVA? That's the question. You want to go over that? Or are we moving on? Say something. Say something. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And you guys are, oh, no problem. Are we going over TCAVA? Or are we not going over TCAVA? Are we playing back the fight? Or are we not playing back the fight? Are we playing back Boast and his attitude? Or are we not? Did y'all watch it already? Are y'all up to par on what happens? If so, then we can go on a different route on Sunday. Let me know. Let me know. Well, and we'll see which way we're going to go. Because I know that you guys probably already watched most of it. So we can hit the ball rolling on something else. Miss K, you want to listen to okay. Y'all want to do it tomorrow? Y'all want to do it Sunday night? I think Sunday night will be better. Sunday, yes. Okay. So Sunday night we will go over TCAVA. What day does Natural come back? I'm gonna have to tell her y'all asking for her. She'll be back soon, but she needed a small break, so she'll be back soon. Thank you. New viewer, be proactive. New round. Okay, I am out. Okay. I got some topics that I wanted to go over, but I'm waiting for Natural and FF because I know that you guys like to hear from them. Actually, there are a couple new changes that was made, especially to like DIC and hold on. It was a change made to DIC, and it was also a change made to the 38 CFR. Hold on. I have a couple of notes that I wrote down in my phone. I can't get to it right now, but there were some changes to the but for and aggravation, those are things that I want to talk about. That's World Cup. What time is the World Cup on Sunday night? What time is the World Cup? Yeah, y'all in this World Cup. World Cup ain't over yet? Yep, it's time for me to go because my water is empty. But okay, I'll see what time on Sunday, and then we can go into what we have. But I do have some topics written down, but I want to go over it with Natural and FF here so that way we can get into some discussions. We can also talk about the changes to DIC, and it's a couple of other things that we want to talk about. We can talk a little bit. Oh, I gotta show y'all Dougie. Yes, FF will be here. I'll make sure to reach out to I'll be sure to reach out to FF as well. To make sure that she is she's available. No, guys, you know, FF is working on her PhD, so sometimes she is not available. But hold on, let me show y'all Dougie. I thought I had saved it, but Dougie was showing off earlier today. Oh, here we go, right here. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Look at Dougie. Y'all ready? Oh, Hobson, thank you for your donation. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Y'all ready? Let me take myself out of the photo. Yeah, y'all look at somebody over here. So Dougie said we're slashing benefits paperwork from 20 pages to 7. Look at somebody in the corner. Live footage of a Marine. Somebody said, what are we losing on the other 13 pages? I can't take y'all serious at all. Live footage of a Marine. They can't read. He's trying to put a feather in his cap. Yeah, I cannot. Hold on, let me read the comments. Not sure if you want to go on to the next subject. You can catch up on the other committees on my side. Okay. No, not doggy. Did he have greens in his teeth? You think you can drop by Dairy Queen? I can try and get one of them. Oh, yeah. But for Will FF, yes, thank you, Hotstone. Thank you very much for your donation. Yeah, when I saw this today, I said, I know you lying. I know you are lying. Hold on, let me see. I wanted to see we are slashing red tape so that you can get your benefits faster. Hold on. Okay, are y'all following me? Okay, here we go. The Department of Veteran Affairs announced a proposal to cut the amount of paperwork and time it takes for veterans to apply for VA benefits. Okay, the VA published the proposal in June to reduce the paperwork burden for veterans seeking disability compensation as well as DIC. survivor pension, and accrued benefits. By simply instructing and reducing redundant elements on these applications, VA is proposing to cut the disability compensation application from 15 pages to 5 pages. The VA estimates that the new form would take applicants 15 minutes to complete instead of 25 minutes it currently takes. The VA is also proposing to cut the DIC application from 20 pages to 7, and to cut the time to complete the application to an estimated 25 minutes, down from 40. No veteran or surviving family should face unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles when seeking the benefits they've earned, says Dougie. These proposals reflect our commitment to putting veterans and their families first, reducing paperwork, saving time, and making the application process as straightforward as possible. VA is currently accepting public comments on both, which are available for review. The new simplified application forms are projected to be available for use by December 2026. Okay, so this is where you can go to put a public comment. Okay, you can go. I hope you guys know where you can go on the Federal Register, and let's see what some comments. Let's see what some comments are up there. Are you guys let me make sure you guys are seeing, because I'm just flipping. They have some comments. Some people made some comments from about, okay, y'all want me to click on a comment? Let's see. Support the spouse of veteran with move to increase compensation for surviving spouses. An extension of supporting this increase is supporting children. Surviving spouses are supporting the dependents with the funds. Additionally, having the funds does not have the spouse become a burden on the children or other governmental programs. This goes to show what the comments is going to look like. Because they finna run it up. So y'all can go, y'all, mama didn't raise no food. It can't, well. He's not Southern. He be having them greens and mac fried chicken sweet potato pie. He's basically saying, stop submitting all those damn pages with your claim. Yeah, because he don't have the staff to, to take care of it. It's the Amish style burger joint. Love me some. Oh, yes. The rhubarb pie is the VA is a master of creating illusion that gives the appearance of make it. Yes. Get ready for bundles to come. Yeah, because when you're looking for something on the form, it's going to change and it's going to be different. Amish burgers are good. Cut your error rate of 38% of wrongfully denied claims. That's the priority, not the stupid paperwork. So you need to go put this comment right on over there on the Federal Register for Douglas. That's where you need to put this comment for Dougie. Because Dougie out here, I'm telling you, Dougie out here doing big things. He's slashing. Hold on, let me share this. Let me share this instead so you guys can see what Dougie is what Dougie is doing right now. Okay. So this is Dougie's social media page. And Dougie talks about $2.2 million in grants to memorialized veterans. So they got that. Then the paperwork. He said that they provide more than 82 million direct care appointments in FY 25. It's an all-time high. And here he go. He's at the NASCAR, right? Dougie's at the NASCAR with his wife, and they're having a good time while veterans are sleeping under a tree in 90-degree, 100-degree weather, right? New benefits enrollees since 2026. So he's talking about 200 and counting more veterans are enrolling in the VA, and the man with the dead hand and Dougie. Okay. So this is what Dougie has been doing. How long do you have to comment? You have, I think, the next 30 days to comment. In the Federal Register, you have the next 30 days. They have got to be using some type of AI. They claim that the human will touch the paperwork more like they'll touch the button. Could be, possibly. We can never know what's happening. Oh, you can go. You have up to, I think it's 30 or 45 days to go comment on the Federal Register. So y'all go over there and voice comment for Dougie. But I know, you know what? I think they be watching us, y'all. They don't be probably, but they be looking from the outside. They're looking from the outside. That's about it. Anything else, guys? It's been great. I've been here with you for almost 2.5 hours. We're cutting claims denial down from 1 million to Richard. I can't take y'all nowhere. Y'all just misbehave. Y'all misbehave. I do want to tell you guys that there is a Senate committee coming up. Hold on, let me go to my YouTube. There is a committee hearing coming up. I think it's coming up here on the 22nd of July. I think so. But I'll keep you guys up to date with the next Senate committee hearing and what is happening. That's the problem. He's giving the illusion out in these streets that he's doing so much. Meanwhile, yeah, he's on social media. He's on, X, and he's on YouTube, and he makes everybody laugh. But behind the scenes, like, there are truly veterans that need help. And I didn't really go on X a lot, but they take him through there over there on X. Those comments are lethal. Okay? They're lethal. Like, people don't spare him at all on X. At all. Thank you. Certainly appreciate you for giving the records. Have a good weekend. Oh, thank you too. I always appreciate you guys for coming here. Always. Always. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate for your subscriptions, your super chats, your thoughtful emails. Oh, let's talk about emails. So I know I told you guys that you can email me, but you can't send me an email with 7 to 10 questions about your situation that I do not know anything about. And you want me to answer these 7 questions, and I don't know anything about what issues you're having, right? And then when I tell you that I can't answer your questions, you can schedule a consultation, you want to call me a claim shark. You email me asking me questions, but then you turn around and want to call me a claim shark. The nerve of people. And then I have to read you like you needed to be read. The nerve of people. Anyway, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm keeping on doing. God bless everyone in here. Thanks for the support. No problem. Grace, have a great weekend. Doug should host Sunday service. Oh, best believe he collecting offering on Sunday. He definitely is. Oh, always smiling. Always. I'm not, oh yeah, I'm only one person. I have currently from today, I will show you guys, I have 458 emails from today. From today. People email me questions all the time. Even somebody in my comments was like, do people not answer questions here? And I want to be like, I said, please don't be rude and disrespectful, because you guys want to ask a million questions, but I have to, naturally FF say all the time, until I know your situation, I can't give you a definite answer. So come into my comments, and then you have the nerve to say one question, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Anyway, Yeah, you need an AI to generate answers. See, and if I do that and give them the answer that it's not even right, then I'm gonna be the bad person. I'm gonna be the bad person. I should create an AI message follow-up so they can go ahead and get an AI answer. Anyway, y'all, I mean, it's damn if you do and damn if you don't. So I'm just going to keep being HVV. I enjoyed you guys at the cookout tonight. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep advocating for yourself because HVV is advocating for you 1000%. So be kind to your friends. Tell a friend about that. We come over here and have us a good time. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Remember to drink water. Mind your business. Don't be a bully. Don't be mean. And have you a good weekend. Okay? And do some self-care. Take a walk in the park. Sit under the tree. Have you a good time. Make sure that you make yourself a priority. Always, Richard. Don't mind them. They're just building evidence for mental health claims. Definitely. So, love you guys down. Okay? I'll see you guys on Sunday night. Take care. Love you much. Bye.
You're not alone, you got a voice. Stand strong, stay informed. Her that voice.